I was seeking. I've been seeking for a long time, in a sort of intellectual way. I hadn't kind of identified with any particular cult or anything like that. And one day I saw in the NME, the New Musical Express, an advertisement, a little advertisement saying that on such and such a day, it was June the 5th, 1978, Shri Mataji would grant en masse self-realization at Caxton Hall. So it didn't mention Sahaja Yoga at all, just said this. And I was fascinated by this because this idea of collective, en masse, but self-realization, the individuation, was exactly what I've been looking for. All my kind of mental conclusions had come that this is what we need to change the world, something that is collective yet also individual at the same time. So it so happened, because I had no money in those days and I lived a very kind of lazy sort of life, that some friends were moving up to London that day, to Holland Park, so I got a lift with them and I went along to Caxton Hall. Now, these friends, the guy who was moving was a guitarist and he had a band, and they needed a name for this band. It was a kind of jazz, acoustic jazz band, very nice music actually. And an old school friend of mine had come up with this name, which he'd found in a book about medieval Indian religion, and the name was Sahaja. And when I got to Caxton Hall, I was a very self-conscious, shy kind of person. I had a dread that I would be invited in and it would all be sort of happy clappy, hugging each other. And so I came to Caxton Hall, and on the outside there was this big poster and it said Sahaja Yoga. I thought, well, this is a sign if ever there was one. So I went in and it was, I'll just go on a little bit longer about the meeting, shall I? Yeah. There were actually at that meeting, which must have been one of the early meetings at Caxton Hall, some leaflets on the chairs before the meeting actually began, and they said something about who Shri Mataji was, that she had been Mary, for example, and this, I was of a very sceptical turn of mind, but I just did not doubt this somehow. And Gregoire gave the introduction, which was a very strong one, calling on the deities to support what he was saying, and then Shri Mataji spoke, and I couldn't actually, a lot of people had these Vishuddhi problems, and I couldn't actually make out everything she was saying, though she spoke perfectly distinctly. And then there were some questions and so on, and she turned to me. I was sitting in the middle. I thought, if I sit at the back of the room, then they might say, everyone at the back move to the front. If I sit at the front, I'll already be at the front in the firing line. So, this is my intellectual way of thinking. I sat in the middle. And she looked at me and she said, an intellectual. I didn't look too good. I had very, very long, thick hair and sort of John Lennon specs. But and she said, you won't find the answer in books. And I heard myself saying, because as I said, I was very shy, but in front of all these people I said, yes, I know that. And she said something else. And she actually told me I should get my hair cut because entities can get in hair like this. So I think she kind of knew I wasn't going to run away. And the people worked on me, and they said some things about what they felt, which were astonishing to me. How could they know this? And I just felt that this is, a matter of destiny. I'd always felt that I was in this world for some purpose, something to do with, changing the world for the better. And so I never looked back. Although I didn't feel very much myself for a long time.